this is the last thing I'm doing, then I'm getting off. Honestly, yeah, but he was just too stuck over like trying to win. Goku, that's the thing. Goku's so carefree. All right, this is the whole Casey Anthony and Caylee Anthony thing. I forgot I had this right. This water. Literally, Goku needs focus, Vegeta needs to be relaxed, and Broly needs control. That's it. The thing is, Goku's carefree. Vegeta lets his emotions get to him in the fight and his pride. And Broly just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Gohan has focus when he's actually trying to fight and not worried about school and shit. Yes, he has focus. He is relaxed. But it sounds like he does let his emotion get to him, and that's when he powers up. But after that, he's totally fine. And he does have control. So yeah. Damn, Cap, you breaking shit down. I see you. You already know. You got it. Oh, all right, let's go ahead and react to this.
Most of you will already be aware of who 2-year-old Caylee Anthony was. The majority will know that she sadly passed away at some point between 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. on June 16, 2008. Her death is undoubtedly the most heartbreaking part of this story, and we only need a single word to epitomize her short life.
For sure.
Tragic. But the primary subject of this video is not about the life nor the death of Caylee Marie Anthony. It is in fact about the psychological constitution of her mother, 22-year-old Casey Marie Anthony. So rather than tragic, you'll find the words disturbing and perplexing to be far better suited to the theme of this video. One of the many reasons this case is exceptional is how the present day's topic of discussion has little to do with the actual occurrences of the crime, but in fact the subsequent developments that followed. People are no longer talking about how or even why Caylee Anthony passed away. They are instead talking about the manner in which a mother responded to her daughter's death. Given all the acquired information we now have, even if we afford this person the most morally acceptable possibility of what occurred, her manner of conduct was still unimaginably cold-blooded. This is driven home by the fact she was evaluated by 2 clinical psychologists during her time in custody, and not a single abnormality was discovered with relation to her psychological state. In other words, there were no signs of mental illness whatsoever. And this makes the character study of Casey Anthony just as fascinating as it is terrifying. A human being's state of mind is something most accurately assessed with the full capacity of hindsight. So before we evaluate...
So basically they said she got evaluated to see if she had a mental disorder, and it was like, nothing's wrong with her. She's actually crazy. She did that shit. And this whole front where she acts like she doesn't care. She doesn't fucking care. I am recording. In a couple of days, the other one we did last night is getting uploaded to YouTube. This one will probably be a couple of days also. Yeah, YouTube. Y'all need to pull up to the Twitch. I'm on Twitch way more than I am on YouTube right now. Which is crazy. But you know, we've been lit over here.
Our first segment of raw footage, here's a quick rundown of each of the essential...
You said, hey YouTube, remind me of Dante's videos. Everyone in the chat just like, hey YouTube. Hey YouTube, y'all late.
Moments that will give you a broader understanding of what we're actually dealing with. On the 15th of July, 2008, Orlando police received a call from Cindy Anthony, the grandmother of the victim.
911, what's your emergency? I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff. I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. We're talking about a 3-year-old little girl. My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her. Your daughter admitted that the baby is where? But the babysitter took her a month ago. My daughter's been looking for her. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. And she just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Caylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Caylee Anthony?
Yes, her herself.
That's the
There's
first piece of
something
evidence
wrong.
right
I
there.
found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
You said your granddaughter is missing. It smells like there's been a dead body in the car. That's it right there.
Car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Caylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Caylee Anthony?
Yes.
How long has she been missing for?
I have not seen her since the 7th of June.
Is your daughter there?
Yes.
Can I speak with her?
She's downstairs. They want to talk to you. Answer the question. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you tell me what's going on a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me a little bit what's going on?
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
And you know who has her?
I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today, now from a number that is no longer in service. I did get to speak to my daughter for about a minute.
Who has her? Do you have a name?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
To give some context to this bizarre phone call, Casey Anthony had left the family home with her daughter a month earlier.
I'm pretty sure she did it. I mean, same way OJ, obviously did it, OJ a funny ass dude, because he be making jokes like, I want to go to California. I feel like I might be sitting next to whoever did it. Like, nigga, you did it. You're going to be sitting next to the name. You're going to be sitting next to the person who did it for the rest of your life because it's you. Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. Sounds Hispanic. Said it was a babysitter.
To this bizarre phone call, Casey Anthony had left the family home with her daughter a month earlier, stating that she had a work assignment in Tampa and would be traveling the entire time. Caylee's grandparents would ask repeatedly over the following month to see, or at least speak to their granddaughter, but Casey claimed each and every time that she was too busy with work and that Caylee was with a nanny who went by the name Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, or Zanny for short. On July 15th, exactly 6 weeks after Caylee was last seen by her grandparents, George Anthony received a phone call that the family car was at the impound lot. This immediately alerted suspicion, as it was the same car Caylee was last seen by her grandparents. George Anthony received a phone call that the family car was at the impound lot. This immediately alerted suspicion, as it was the same car Casey had supposedly been traveling with for work. Suspicion turned into panic once they picked up the vehicle, and George discovered a strong odor emanating from the trunk, one that he recognized from his years as a police officer, and found comparable to that of human decomposition. Through contacting one of Casey's friends, her parents managed to track her down at her boyfriend's house in Orlando.
Who's this ugly ass dude? He looks like someone I know. Or someone I've seen on TV. I just can't fucking think of it. I'm trying to think of the show. I don't fucking know. Yeah, it's a 5-head. Like, I can trace this.
Where they were found smoking marijuana and watching TV. When inquired over the whereabouts of her daughter, Casey stated that she had been kidnapped 31 days before by the supposed babysitter. It was at that moment Cindy Anthony called 911.
911, what's your emergency? Who has her? Do you have a name?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
Who is that? Babysitter?
She's been my nanny for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years.
Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was stupid. I think the officers are here.
The officers are there?
Yes.
Now let's indulge in the world of fantasy for just a moment and pretend all of what Casey had just stated was true. She had indeed been working, and her daughter was in fact kidnapped by the babysitter a month
Let's go by
earlier.
that.
The immediate premise most would gather would be that Casey had no regard for her daughter whatsoever. In the 911 call, there was no urgency nor concern in her voice, and rather than her volunteering information, which most parents would do in a frantic manner, it had to be acquired by the dispatcher through repeated inquisition. All you have to do is compare
That is
Casey's
weird.
dialogue to that of her mother's in the same phone call. One was indifferent, while the other was distraught. Police would have picked up on this immediately. Even without the bizarre phone call, the circumstances alone would make Casey the prime suspect in her daughter's disappearance. She was immediately interviewed as a witness, which unbeknownst to her was the detective's first step in locking her into as many lies as possible.
Day right now is July 16, 2008. The time right now is
Y'all have
04:11
video of the
hours. I'm Detective
interrogation?
Mellish with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I am with Casey Anthony, is that correct?
Oh, they do.
Casey,
Later
you
on.
understand this is being recorded?
Yes.
You have any objection to that?
No.
All right. Casey, I got called here in reference to a missing child. You took Casey to a babysitter's house.
Yes.
And who was this babysitter?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
Okay. How long had you known Zenaida?
Almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years Christmas this year.
And where did you meet her? Who did you meet her through?
A mutual friend, his name is Jeffrey Michael Hopkins. I met him at Nickelodeon at Universal, and I met her through him. She was his son's nanny at the time.
Does Jeffrey still work at Universal?
No, he does not.
How long has it been since he left?
About 9-10 months, give or take. He moved up to North Carolina for a short time.
You sound
and
so
moved
bland,
down
like
to
she doesn't give a
Jacksonville
fuck.
within the last 3 months.
How would you characterize your relationship with Miss Anthony?
More or less acquaintances,
Weren't very good friends?
not very good friends.
Did you ever work at Universal Studios?
I did.
When did you work at Universal Studios?
Approximately 2002,
How long did you work there
On
for?
her eyebrows.
1 year.
Did you ever work there at the same time that Casey Anthony worked there?
I don't think so.
You don't recall ever seeing her there?
Never.
Did you ever introduce Casey Anthony to a woman by the name of Zenaida Gonzalez?
I did not.
Did you ever use Zenaida Gonzalez as a nanny?
No, sir.
Do you have any children?
No, sir.
Have you lived in the Orlando area consistently since 2002?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever lived in Jacksonville?
No, sir.
Have you ever lived in North Carolina?
No, sir.
Did you see Casey Anthony in the month of June of 2008?
No, sir.
When was the last time you spoke with him?
About a week and a half ago.
Do you know a telephone number for him?
I can find a number for him. I don't know a number offhand. No, I do not.
Nobody knows
So
the
you met
number
Zenaida
offhand,
through
yeah,
Jeffrey
yeah.
Hopkins
I did.
and his
Yes.
son Zach Hopkins, I guess. Zenaida used to watch over
He
Zach.
just said he doesn't have any kids.
And when did she start watching over your child?
It's been within the last year and a half, 2 years that she started watching Caylee.
How would you normally drop off, or how would you normally do the exchange with your child and Zenaida? Would you drop the child off? Would she meet you somewhere?
I would usually drop her off. For a few months, we would go over to Jeff's house. He lived over in Avalon Park
And you would go to Jeff's house, why?
to drop off Caylee. That's where Zenaida would go to watch both of the kids.
Okay.
It was in a nice centralized area. He had a decent sized house.
Why are you dropping your kid off at another man's house? Just because that's where the nanny goes to take care of both kids. One, I know it's a lie. One, because that sounds stupid. Two, because he just said he doesn't have kids. And three, why wouldn't she just come to your house and be the babysitter, or you drop her off at her house? Why would you go to a whole nother man's house? You don't know what that. What the fuck?
It was good room for the two of them.
Go back to your statement. You dropped off Caylee June 9th, and walk me through. You dropped her off to go to work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean,
Get
it
off.
makes sense if they were in a relationship and it's like, yeah, let's just drop. I'm gonna drop my kid off with yours, and then he's gonna take care of both of them. That makes sense, but you're not in a relationship. Like he just said, basically, he don't fuck with you. Well, she didn't drop it off at the babysitter. She tried to bury Caylee somewhere else. At least from what I
Or work
remember.
and go from there.
I got off of work, left Universal, driving back to pick up Caylee like a normal day, and I show up to the apartment, knock on the door, nobody answers. So I call Zenaida's cell phone and it's out of service. I didn't really want to come home. I wasn't sure what I'd say about not knowing where Caylee was. Still hoping that I would get a call or, you know, find out that Caylee was coming back.
So bland. She doesn't care.
And I ended up going to my boyfriend Anthony's house.
Like, your daughter's missing. You're talking to a detective right now.
About what happened with Caylee?
No, I did not.
And you're not even trying to give them the information to help.
Caylee, about your incident with Caylee? Or the fact
Outside
that
of
she's missing?
A couple people, a couple mutual friends.
Who did you talk to about it?
I talked to Jeffrey Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Juliette Lewis. She's one of my coworkers at Universal.
She works. You still work at Universal?
Yes.
What do you do at Universal?
I'm an event coordinator.
Okay. What is Juliet? What position is she? Where she works?
She's also an event coordinator. We work in the same department.
Juliette Lewis doesn't exist. Casey had briefly worked at Universal, but hadn't.
What position is she? Where she works?
She's also an event coordinator. We work in the same department.
Juliette Lewis doesn't exist. Casey had briefly worked at Universal, but hadn't been employed there for over 2 years prior to this interview. And she wasn't an event coordinator. She stood behind a kiosk and sold photos of people after they had been on the Incredible Hulk ride.
You have a number for Juliet?
Offhand, I can't think.
Keep saying offhand.
No, she's not. Some of the more recent numbers, her number just changed because she just moved back up north.
Yeah, of course.
Within the last 2 months has finished changed because
her number just changed. She moved back up north. That's like people in middle school or elementary school just say, yeah, I got a girlfriend, but she just moved out of town. So yeah, it's like no way we can actually prove it. Yeah.
Back up north. She, within the last 2 months, has finished moving up to New York.
50 more
She's
minutes.
subleasing her apartment.
So Juliet doesn't work at Universal anymore?
No, she does not.
What's the reason, I asked you this before and I'll ask you just for the record, what's the reason you didn't call the police before?
I think part of me was naive enough to think that I could handle this myself, which obviously I couldn't. And I was scared that something would happen to her if I did notify the authorities or got the media involved. Just the fear of the unknown, fear of the potential of Caylee getting hurt, of not seeing my daughter again.
I asked you this at the onset.
You're right.
Tape, and I'll ask you again just to make sure we're clear. Is there anything about this story that you're telling me that is untrue? Or is there anything that you want to change or divert from what you've already told me?
No, sir.
Cav, I'm gonna start doing these on the weekends, and I'm just doing way earlier, to be honest. Yo, Jaffred, how's it going, man? Hope you had a nice stream earlier.
Did you cause any injury to your child?
You're
Caylee?
fine, man.
No, sir.
I saw you raise
hurt
some money.
Caylee or leave her somewhere, and you're worried that if we find that out, that people are gonna look at you the wrong way.
No, sir.
And you're telling me that Zenaida took your child
If
without
you're
your
curious,
permission?
Jaffred, we're reacting to the case about Casey Anthony and Caylee Anthony. If you don't know, the lady who killed her daughter and then acting like she didn't care the whole time.
The last person that I've seen with my daughter, yes.
She's Puerto
You're
Rican,
gonna see it. You're
she's
gonna see
LinkedIn,
it.
She's white.
She's mixed. She's black and Puerto Rican.
Is there any underlying cause to why Zenaida would have taken your child?
Nothing that...
She ever make any statements to you about...
Only how much she loves Caylee and how great of a kid she is.
And when you talk to Jeffrey afterwards, I'm assuming that Jeffrey's child is still with him.
His child is still with him.
His child doesn't
Zenaida have
exist.
family up in New England, up in New York or
Yes,
something?
she has family down south. Her mother and her sister. Her brother's in New York. She's originally from New York. Pretty much grew up there, moved down here, went to the University of Florida.
Zenaida, the nanny, doesn't exist. Casey never had a babysitter. Being the retrospective viewer, we have the benefit of knowing
He's
these are
making up
outright
all this
fabrications.
information
And these meticulous details
for
are a
what?
textbook sign of a pathological liar. She speaks eloquently and naturally, as if her dialogue is a reflex response to the questions she's being asked. when in reality, each of these minor details are calculated and deliberately placed for the purpose of deception, and the nonchalant, easygoing tone she employs is used to camouflage anxiety. Casey has not only become accustomed to manipulation, she has become extremely skilled in how to use it effectively. It takes us to the concept of nurture and how it most likely had a significant impact on her current circumstances. If we go through what we know about Casey's domestic...
And there are the eyebrows. Oh man. Oh my god. Oh, you were messed up. Who was she? Not even 3 years, no. Oh wait, no, that's what the fuck? Where's the age? Okay, yeah, 3 years. Yeah, okay, my bad. 2005 to 2008, presumably. Damn.
history, there are numerous occasions where she had gotten
Rest
away
in
with
peace,
things
man.
that most would not, simply due to the fact that she was able to continuously
no
lie
reason.
without conscience.
And
A
your
prime
mother-
example
your
could
mother
be
just
when she
doesn't
was
fucking
18 years
care.
old and stopped attending class
fucking did
midway
it.
through her senior year. She literally skipped the entire second half of her final year to go hang out with her older boyfriend. Her parents became suspicious on several occasions, yet each and every time, Casey had some whimsical excuse to which she was given the benefit of the doubt. Then just days before graduation, her parents were informed by the school of her truancy and that she would not be graduating. When confronted, Casey's excuse was that her timetable was mixed up by the school, causing her to miss classes through no fault of her own. This is obviously a completely baffling excuse that no sane person would ever believe. Yet whether it be through denial or an overprotective nature, Casey's parents not only took her at her word, but even shielded her from the consequences of her actions. They lied to all their family friends that she graduated with honors.
What the fuck is that in their mouth? Is that a cigar? That's a weird ass looking cigar. It look like that writing on the side of it, like.
And even threw her an extravagant graduation party the day after. This is just one of the many occurrences where Casey faced no ramifications for misconduct. It seemed to give her the belief that no matter what she did, as long as she could spin one lie after another, or at least drag a lie out for as long as possible, everything would work itself out. The truth is that everything did work itself out when she was dealing with her parents, and she evidently thought the same rules applied with regard to national law and a missing child's investigation. After the initial statement you just heard, Casey was asked if she could take police to all places of interest. She happily obliged, and then proceeded to lead them to a multitude of fake addresses which she had nothing to do with. She then took them to her supposed office at Universal Studios and literally led three senior investigators to the very end of the building, taking over 25 minutes to walk to, before she finally turned around, put her hands in her back Universal stresses, which she had nothing to do with. She then took them to her supposed office at Universal Studios and literally led three senior investigators to the very end of the building, taking over 25 minutes to walk to, before she finally turned around, put her hands in her back pockets, laughed, and admitted that she didn't work there. Completely dumbfounded, the detectives placed her under arrest and took her to a conference room in the building for what was essentially an interrogation.
Since I left you this morning, I've gone to every address that you've told me.
What the fuck?
I came over here, I've already talked to all the employees. I found out all these names that you're giving me are people that either never worked here or have been fired here for a long time ago. Okay, so where we are right now is in a position that doesn't look very good for you. Because obviously, I know, and you know, that everything you've told me is a lie, correct?
Not everything that I told you.
Pretty much everything that you've told me, including where Caylee is right now.
That I don't know where she is.
Sure you do. And here's,
absolutely
listen,
do not know where she
let me
is.
explain something. Looking at you, I know that everything that you've told me is a lie. I'm very confident, just by having talked to you this short period of time, that you know where she is.
I legitimately have not seen my daughter in 5 weeks. I didn't let anything happen to her, except I trusted her with somebody that had been taking care of her.
You say that, but you just lied about everything. How are we supposed to trust you?
What about Jeff? You said Jeff worked here until about 2 months ago?
No, he hasn't worked here for quite a while.
10 months? How long?
It's been at least 10 months.
Okay. He got fired in 2002. He hasn't been an employee here since 2002.
We put a lot more together than I think you realize we put together. My question to you is, we're in this office because our purpose in coming here was to do what?
I'm trying to think of places where I know she's been.
You're not answering my question. Do you want us to help?
Yes,
you want to help us find your daughter?
I do want you to
Well,
help.
a good starting point would be to answer the questions, okay? If I say to you, we're here because, and then you just ignore that like I never asked it and go off in some other direction, is that answering the question?
No.
Okay. Let's go through this again. We're here because.
Because I lied. Because I brought you up here.
Exactly.
And honestly, I was reaching for
No, stop right
avenue.
there. I want you to tell me how lying to us is going to help us find your daughter.
It's not going to.
Well, then if the main thing you want to do is find your daughter, and you don't think lying to us is going to help us find her, why would you do that?
Because she killed her.
Because I'm scared, and I know I'm running out of options. It's been a month.
If you know you're running out of options, then why are
I'm scared
you...
of not seeing my daughter ever again.
I'm a parent too. I would have been beside myself.
I have been.
I would have called the police immediately, and that's the part that I just don't understand. Well, we've got so many resources out there that we could help on day one.
You didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, they haven't been gone that long. Maybe I can find them. Maybe I can track them down.
We're not stupid, okay? And what you're doing right now is you're treating us like we're stupid. Everything that's coming out of your mouth is a lie. Everything. Either you gave Caylee to someone and you don't want anyone to...
This detective Malik, he's not having the bullshit. At this point, everything she says is just a lie.
...find out because you think you're a bad mom, or something happened to Caylee and Caylee's buried somewhere or in a trash can somewhere, and you had something to do with it. Either way, right now, it's not a very pretty picture to be painting. You're painting yourself as a very bad person. It needs to end.
The truthful thing is that I have not seen my daughter. The last time that I saw her was on the 9th of June.
Remember we had those two people that we were talking about, the person who had an accident and a person who's just a cold-blooded, callous monster? That's telling me that you are the second person, this cold-blooded, callous monster who doesn't care and doesn't want to help because she's afraid that something so heinous happened that everyone's going to look at her and say, she's a monster, she deserves to go away, she deserves to never see the light of day, this bad thing should happen to her. I don't want to believe that right now, but you're giving me no choice. Tell us what happened to Caylee. Tell us what happened to Caylee.
I dropped off Caylee. And that's the last time that I've seen her. I dropped her off.
Where did you drop her off?
I dropped her off at that apartment.
No, you didn't.
That's exactly where I dropped her off.
Did you just think that one day she's just going to show up at your house?
No, I sat around yesterday trying to figure out what to do. I'm glad.
You're saying yesterday, but you said she's been missing for a month.
Happened for a reason because
you're glad you saw your mom. You could have saw your mom 5 weeks ago and said, Mom, I don't know what...
I saw my mom's reaction right off the bat, and it would have been the same from the get-go.
So wait a minute, you're more afraid of your mom's reaction than you are if you ever see your daughter again?
No, I'm absolutely petrified. Absolutely petrified. I know my mom will never forgive me. I'm never going to forgive myself.
Is it that there's some other thing more important in your life right now that you just weren't really focused on what you were saying when you told us? So you kind of just accidentally told us you had an office here and we needed to be here, or did you purposely mislead us? Which of those two is it?
I purposely misled.
Okay, so you purposely misled us. This was all an attempt to help find your daughter, right? That makes sense to you, correct?
Now he's just like, you killed her and you're just leading them away so that
I'm coming
you don't
back
get
to
caught.
places that are familiar to me, that I know are familiar to her. Familiar situations that maybe would help. She's almost 3.
She's almost 3. What do you think, she's going to take a cab here? I mean, how do you think she's going to get here?
Because she's with someone else.
She's with someone else who's hid her from you for 5 weeks.
Yes.
Why would a person who has hid your daughter from you for 5 weeks, okay, bring her to the building that you used to work at?
I don't know what else to do anymore. If I knew where she was, if something would have happened, I would have admitted that a long time ago.
Do you believe thinking up more lies to tell us will help us?
Exactly. Press her.
She's with someone that I absolutely do not trust.
They won't trust you.
And that I'm absolutely scared.
Detective Miller, yeah, step in.
I don't trust her now. Because of what happened.
Who did you call first? Who did you go to for help first?
Nobody.
To help out find her?
No one.
Oh, no one. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that straightened out.
Casey was then taken to the county jail, where she in the evening hours was able to make a phone call, and just happened to see her mother on the local news moments before speaking to her.
Casey?
Mom.
Hey, sweetie.
Oh, I just saw your nice little cameo on TV.
Which one?
What do you mean, which one?
Which one? I did 4 different ones, and I don't know. I haven't seen them all. I've only seen 1 or 2 so far.
You don't know what my involvement is and stuff?
Casey?
Mom.
What?
No.
I don't know what your involvement is, sweetheart. You're not telling me where she's at.
Because I don't f***ing know where she's at. Are you kidding me?
Casey, don't waste your call to
No.
scream and holler at me.
Waste my call sitting in the jail?
Whose fault is you sitting in the jail? You're blaming me that you're sitting in the jail?
Not
Blame
my
yourself
fault.
for telling lies. You mean it's not your fault? What do you mean it's not your fault, sweetheart? If you'd have told them the truth and not lied about everything, they wouldn't...
Do me a favor, just tell me what Tony's number is. I don't want to talk to you right now.
I don't have his number.
We'll get it from Lee because I know Lee's at the house. Get Tony's number for me.
Hey,
Hey, can you give me Tony's number?
I can do that. I don't know what real good it's going to do you at this point.
Well, I'd like to talk to him anyway.
Okay.
Because I called to talk to my mother, and it's f***ing waste. Oh, by the way, I don't want any of you coming up here when I have my first hearing for bond and everything else. Like, don't even waste your time coming up here.
Why are you acting like this when you did it?
I'm not going around and around with you. That's pretty pointless. Christina would love to talk to you because she thinks that you will tell her what's going on. Frankly, we're going to find out. Everything
I have
she's
no
telling them
clue where
is
Caylee
a
is. If I knew where Caylee was, do you think any of this would be happening? No.
Anyway, you only got a couple minutes for this, so I'm not going to let you completely waste it. Here's Christina. She thinks she can get through.
No, I want Tony's number. I'm not talking to anybody else.
Hello?
Hi, I'm glad everybody's at my house. Do me a favor.
I don't
get
want
my
to talk to
brother
anybody
back
else.
because I need
Hello?
Tony's number.
Does Tony have anything to do with Caylee?
No, nothing.
Okay, so why do you want to talk to Tony?
He's my boyfriend, and I want to actually try to sit and talk to him because I didn't get a chance to talk to him earlier because I got arrested on whim today.
On a whim? You admitted you were lying and just taking the fault. That's what's it called? We were like giving false statements, like leading cops on. Like you can be arrested for that. Right, versus getting asked a question, she wasn't saying shit. You mean on a fucking
A
whim?
little bit of
Casey, you have to tell me if you know anything about Caylee.
Sweetheart,
If anything happens with Caylee, Casey, I'll die. You understand? I'll die. If anything happens to that baby.
Oh my god, calling you guys, a waste. Huge waste.
Casey appeared in the court the next morning.
The way she just keeps saying waste, I want to start saying that now. Know what?
And was initially denied bail by the judge. He cited his reason as her undeniable disregard for the welfare of her own child. She was kept in protective custody, and it would be 9 days until she received her first visit from her parents.
Hi. Sweetie, we've been watching you for so long. You haven't? I love you. I love you too. Hi. We've been seeing you sitting down. We forgive anything that you've said or done.
Hold on. Can we turn the volume down? Yeah, you can probably hear it. My head's gonna explode.
What's that T-shirt? I didn't get a chance to ask him, other things besides. Caylee's picture's on the back. Is it? Can Dad show me the shirt? Yeah, turn around so she can see. It's the Never Lose Hope Foundation. Do you see it?
I can see part of it, yeah.
Have you seen me? And then it has the information on how to contact.
Okay.
Casey, you don't realize the whole United States is looking for our Caylee.
Everyone was just
Her cover's
like,
gonna
what
be
the
on People
fuck?
magazine in a few days.
Okay.
With a readership of over 46 million adults in America, having your missing child on the front cover of People magazine would seem as a godsend to most. Yet Casey's response is almost as if it's a lost cause.
Everybody is looking for her. Good. Everybody is looking for her. Are we going to be able to find her, do you think?
I hope we can, Mom.
Hope we can.
No,
No.
I didn't get a chance to ask Lee.
Can you look up a little bit more? Raise your eyes up a little bit. There you go. So now, look straight up so I can look into your eyes.
Right, she's smiling, she sounded happy and everything.
Do that. It's okay to cry, Casey. It's all right, love. We've all been
Her
crying.
dad is just like, hey,
Setting
that's not
aside
my daughter
morality
right
and
there
ethics for
anymore.
just a moment, Caylee at this point would be emotionally exhausted. She had been sitting in an isolated jail cell for almost 2 weeks as the entire world was turning against her. Anyone in her position, guilty or otherwise, would be at near breaking point, and her composed exterior
knew
now
before the
finally
mom, to be
slips.
honest.
She, for a brief moment, allows herself to be vulnerable, and for perhaps the first
That's
time,
why he ain't been talking
expresses
to
the
the
pain
daughter.
of her situation.
He-
This is
he
one of the few
disowned her.
moments where Casey's true self is on display. Of
Yeah, she was like,
itself,
"Let me see
it's a
your
touching
eyes."
moment between a mother and daughter. Yet if we add in the context of the surrounding elements, she is only expressing this pain for herself. Just a moment ago, when she saw her deceased daughter's face on her father's shirt, none of this emotion came out.
Casey, I want to ask you just a couple questions.
Good.
The rest of the visit is extremely bizarre. Casey's parents try to extract any information they can about Caylee's possible whereabouts, and each time are essentially dismissed by Caylee as if they're asking pointless and irritating questions.
Do we have any pictures of Sandy's apartment?
Lee and I already talked about this. I don't know. It could be on the desk at home. I don't know.
What is your? I can't get into your.
I gave Lee everything already. I gave Lee all of the passwords, everything we could possibly think of all over again.
I want to get some video clips off Caylee because the video clip with Grandpa is really helping people. Still pictures don't show.
No, they don't show her personality.
Right, and we need to show her personality. So I need to make sure we get that password.
Yeah, I gave Lee the password.
Please look up, sweetheart. I need to see your eyes.
I want to be able to look at you guys too. I can't look at you and look at the camera.
Well, you don't have to look at the camera. Look at me.
I'm gonna say, yeah, she said camera. Where,
You're sitting very low.
where are they talking from? The parents.
The exchange switches back and forth from inquisitive and challenging to sympathetic and loving, and every time her parents stop inquiring over the case and show that they still care about Caylee herself is when the tears come out.
Do you want to speak to your father now?
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, gorgeous, how you doing?
I look like hell.
Well, you know something? You really need to keep your spirit high for all this.
I haven't been crying while I've been in here.
Well, you know
trying
something?
to read books and do other things to keep my mind off of stuff.
Well, you know, I want to be able to reach out and hug you and give you the big Papa Joe hug. But you know, we got to get that little girl back any way we can, and we're
Dad,
doing everything we can.
My only concern. I gave Lee a statement. I want him to speak to whoever in the media.
Do you think, Kath, if she had told her parents out the gate that she didn't, and it was like, I need y'all to help cover for me so I don't go to jail, that they would have helped her? Maybe, I mean, probably not for her daughter. If it was like a random murder, like somebody else, like she was defending herself or she attacked somebody and it was a random ass stranger or whatever, sure. But no, I was talking about the daughter. But yeah, they probably wouldn't do it because that was their granddaughter. They care too much.
Specifically from me.
But I mean, like, if like Casey was to beg them, don't tell anybody so I don't go to jail, but I did kill my daughter. Yeah, I don't think so.
Every time Casey's parents mention that people are willing to help with a search, Caylee dismisses their credibility and even attacks some of their characters while she's at it.
Tara?
Tara from Michigan.
You mean Mark's psycho ex-wife, Tara?
Yes.
Listen. People like Tara, people like Jesse who are maybe trying to help, even Christina, God bless her, don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I want you to know, I want to take your pain away from you. So, you know, you can tell me anything.
I know that, Dad.
I'm miss you, sweetie.
You hear what he
You know,
said? He said, "You can tell me anything. Tell me you did it, Casey. Have a wire attached to my chest under my shirt right now. Tell me anything."
They're talking about?
I want you to know I want to take your pain away from you. So, you know, you can tell me anything.
I know that, Dad.
I miss you, sweetie.
I know that. I miss you too.
I wish I could have been a better dad and better grandpa, you know?
You've been a great dad and you've been the best grandfather. Don't for a second think otherwise.
True. I mean, you gotta
Well,
protect the
You and
youth, you
Mom
know?
have been the best grandparents. Kaylee's been so lucky. Caylee
Okay,
is
well,
Like,
so
for
lucky to have
Casey, if she actually loved her daughter, obviously. If she had to choose between her parents or her daughter, she's supposed to pick her daughter. They already lived their life, done what they needed to do, whatever. They're gonna die quicker than fucking the daughter is. So yeah, she's supposed to choose the daughter.
both of you. I can't even put into words how glad I am that she's had both of you. And that she still has both of you.
you know, it goes without saying, you know, that our house is empty without both of you there.
Mom or wife? Do I get to consult either about this decision before I make the choice? I would prob. Mm, I would have to say wife. And I'm hitting play.
It's empty. All the little things we
I
took
don't
for
need to think
granted,
about that
we miss
anymore.
them so much.
That's exactly how I feel.
All your little things and all
It's
her little...
it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same rules that applies here. Like, they already lived their life. It's the youth now. And you know, yeah. Now, if you said girlfriend, bye. Fuck up out of here.
little things. It's just, it hurts. We're not there. Mom and I are just going through the motions, you know?
I ate coleslaw today. Tell them I ate coleslaw.
Well, you probably eat a lot of things you never used to eat before because when you're hungry, you'll eat.
I hated bologna. I've been eating bologna and cheese on occasion. Grits, I don't do
This
grits.
bitch is talking about eating bologna and cheese.
Well, you know what? You're gonna eat what's in front of you.
We get another glimpse at Casey's skill in fabricating information and her ability to intertwine specific details to afford her lies some credibility. These minor intricacies are what would make her extremely convincing if we didn't happen to know otherwise.
They never searched by her full name. They searched by Zenaida Fernandez, whereas Zenaida Gonzalez never by her full name.
And it's Z-E-N.
Z-E-N-A-I-D-A. I don't think she has a middle name. There was never a middle name on anything that I remember seeing. And I know she went by both last names. She always has. Since she was younger, since her mom remarried.
So Flores Gonzalez, and you don't know what her stepdad.
Fernandez Gonzalez.
Is the mom remarried?
But you don't know what.
But she doesn't even fucking exist.
Fernandez Gonzalez.
I think her dad's first name is Victor. Her stepdad, or that could be her real dad.
You guys realize police can, they have files, reports, like, it's the government, they can look up all this shit and find out this person isn't real.
But I know she has a lot of money.
That they don't exist. They're not registered with an ID anywhere, like, It's
phone
just
calls a
all
day
bullshit.
that, you know, that are not nice phone calls, but I get many, many, many phone calls and many people reaching out that just believe in you. They believe in
You would
us
have had a
finding
better
Caylee.
chance saying, "Oh, it was someone who snuck over the border or something from Mexico or whatever. They just needed a job. They seem really genuine, so I let them be my babysitter and whatever." You look dumb, but that would be more believable since they can't find a person who's registered with an ID anywhere, obviously. Or which guy, or the dad? Honestly, her line sucks. I'm not even a detective, and I could have told that she was lying in the fucking phone call. No, that guy lies the best. Oh my god. That man played them. And it's so funny that it did not matter what he said in that interrogation room. They still had the hacksaw that he used to chop the body up in his apartment with the blood of the victim on it. It didn't matter what he said, he was still going down, and he damn sure did. That's just the funny part, bro. Like, they kept saying, "Dude, we're just trying to help you so you can get your story out." Like, nigga, they actually were. Like, you could have saved yourself. You probably could have got less time even after the plea deal because you could have seemed genuine, like you were actually sorry, but you got life just for like acting like you didn't care. That dude was fucking dumb. Especially if you knew the hacksaw was in your apartment. One, I don't know why you kept it in your apartment. Two, if you knew it's in there, you know forensics are gonna find that shit. And you're done. So why wouldn't you complain? You're already going down. There's some things you just know and you should like try and make a better situation out of it, but like he didn't.
Okay? So keep your head up high. But if you think of anything
Yeah,
you
and
can
then
help,
all the hair the dude was talking about when he was like scratching his head and it was falling on the notepad he had, he's like that the dude had a bunch of curly hair, it was all out. Like, yeah, your hair was all over that girl's apartment. I know it was. Hey, listen, y'all know what we talking about. Y'all gotta watch the last reaction, or you gotta just show up to Twitch.
don't be afraid.
Oh, I won't hesitate to let you guys know.
You have to keep things positive. Positive feelings, Casey.
Oh, I know, I have been. I've been staying as positive as I can.
But do you think after this long she'd still be local?
There's a possibility.
What's your gut telling you right now?
My gut's telling me that she's okay.
Okay. And your gut tells you that she's close or she's hiding?
She's not far. I know in my heart she's not far. I can feel it.
Okay.
This was...
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? No, what you mean by that? Yeah.
Perhaps the first time Casey told the truth when speaking of her daughter's whereabouts, as she indeed...
Wait, what'd she say?
I know in my heart she's not far. I can feel it.
Okay.
This was perhaps the first time Casey told the truth when speaking of her daughter's whereabouts, as she indeed wasn't that far.
Is that fucked up for the narrator that just said that?
Not far. I know in my heart she's not far. I can feel it.
Okay.
This was perhaps...
He says she knows she's not for narrow. I was like, yep, that's the first time she told the truth. Does that sound fucked up?
The first time Casey told the truth when speaking of her daughter's whereabouts, as she indeed wasn't that far away. Her attorney, Jose Baez, eventually managed to get her bail, and Caylee was fitted with an electronic monitoring device and released on August 21st. She had spent just over 1 month in custody. 2 months later, police were granted permission to arrest Caylee on the charge of first-degree murder. She was taken in for interrogation, but immediately requested her right to counsel. She was kept in the interview room while awaiting her attorney, and the released footage of that period is so bizarre to the point where it's almost comical. The detectives give off a passive, yet glaringly obvious vibe that lets Caylee know exactly what they think, being that she is guilty of her daughter's probable death and a fundamentally terrible human being on every imaginable level. Caylee's response to this is to essentially ignore it and act as if the discourse between them and the situation itself is an everyday occurrence, one that perhaps doesn't concern the disappearance of her daughter, for which she is being charged for. You'll notice that she effortlessly maintains the same confident and talkative disposition that she had.
No, they said 2 whole months and then they arrested her.
In her previous interviews with police. It's almost surreal.
But my thing is, they said she was waiting for her attorney and she still talked to him. Why are you doing that without an attorney? Whether you're innocent or guilty, do not talk. Because you may be saying shit that you don't even know is going to be used against you in court. That's why your attorney is supposed to help you word it the right way.
Real to watch given the circumstance, and the visual element adds an entire new level to the absurdity.
Why people do that?
The first segment of footage shows the arresting officer waiting
I
with
would be a dick, bro. And they'll be like, hey, so we want to ask some questions. I'm like, well, I need my attorney. Well, you know, we just want to ask, did you commit this murder? You commit to getting me my fucking attorney, nigga? Like, goddamn.
Caylee for the lead investigator to arrive. He initiates the conversation by bringing up the subject of Caylee's parents. He asserts that he's worried about them, but the actual message he's putting across is that he essentially knows Caylee is guilty and that she isn't fooling anyone. It's an indirect yet obvious accusation.
I was afraid that some of what I said
playing with his nails
probably offended them because I told them that if I find out something that
yeah, now it's guilty to prove innocent. Yeah.
Well, honestly, they'll respect that. That's just.
It was never innocent until proven guilty. I don't know why people said that. That was never a fucking thing. People persecute people so much, even in civil trials. Like, no, it was never innocent until proven guilty. I don't know why the court system said that or who said that, who made that shit up. That was never a thing.
People that they are in the same way.
I know they are. It was
You
never my
heard
intention
one
to piss
detail,
anybody
you
in
have to
their
prove
family
you're
off.
innocent.
You know, I'm not in it to get a conviction. I get nothing out of it. I get zero.
Exactly. You have a job you're trying to do.
I've found a few and I've not found a few and it sucks both ways.
Yeah, I agree.
So, it is what it is. Where I get sideways with people tends to be when attorneys get involved.
I've heard most people say that. They don't like attorneys very much.
I have many family members that are attorneys. I have no problems with attorneys. What I have problems with are, at some point, we have to set aside the rules and we have to find kids. And you know what? So be it. That's why I told you in the car.
At this point, it's been
I'll get up and say,
what, 2-3 months since Caylee's been missing. Like,
we can't use any of it. That's just the way it is. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
The detective here has essentially just asked Caylee for the information he knows she has about her missing child. Rather than retaliate and refute the blatant accusation, Caylee continues with her sharp responses of accordance as if to say she agrees and knows exactly where the detective is coming from. Yet although she apparently agrees, she offers no information or follow-up dialogue thereafter. It's so incredibly awkward, yet equally intriguing.
I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. We have all that stuff before all of this that like she didn't care.
To watch.
And,
You're just following the trend now.
When we did another case that I was involved in, you know, they lost a confession. And I sat there and I looked right at the guys that we worked with. I said,
that's not what's important.
Who cares?
Yeah.
We found her. We found her and he's going to get what is coming to him. That's not my job. You know. And it works out in the end. And it works out in the end on all sides, to be honest with you. It may not be comfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
And I've done things that if I get caught for, I'm not going to be comfortable, I can tell you that. It's just the way life is. You know, but it's not the end of the road either. And that's what we have to keep in mind. It's not the end of the road. You know?
Casey then
Nodding.
casually brings up the topic of the grand jury and the media surrounding her murder trial. She raises the questions as if she's talking about her favorite daytime TV show.
Yeah,
But if the subpoena itself is just a regular federal or grand jury subpoena, that's public record.
Yeah.
It doesn't say what it's for. It doesn't say what case it's in. It doesn't. It just says you're subpoenaed to appear before the grand jury.
Well, with them announcing that, you know, there was going to be a grand jury, and obviously my name was thrown out, they knew who the grand jury was for.
Who threw your name out?
All of the media said that it was from an inside source, meaning in here. So that's where they all say is.
I can tell you
getting
what I
their
think
sources
of the
from.
media and what I think of people who leak stuff to the media.
I think it's garbage. Yeah.
All right, let's start asking questions. Let's get to the
That's
nitty gritty.
That doesn't make it any less necessary.
Doing bedside talk.
Without them, I'll be quite honest, without the media, we don't find a quarter of the kids that we...
Oh, I agree. It helps. The exposure has helped bring in so many tips for my daughter.
But at the same time, what it creates is it creates a monster that otherwise isn't necessary.
Exactly.
The tips are what the tips are. If it was a local media only, it would be much easier to work.
Yeah.
When you make it the national media, then you come up
You
with...
get the Nancy Graces.
Well, you get the tips also that come from Hawaii that say, I saw Caylee. Oh, really? Okay, let me call Hawaii and let me send them out. Let me do that.
Ones that are a little bit closer.
Those are what I consider
Why?
local.
What the fuck?
Because the local
It's in
stations
close
are going to
range.
cover that.
Yeah.
That's contiguous to the state of Florida. It's not.
When people are only getting their information from the Nancy Graces or from Globe magazine or People or, you know, stuff like that. Are you kidding me?
You're not going to break bad, right?
Oh, second guy comes in. I love when this happens.
Okay.
Because then they have to actually talk about shit, not just talk about
that's not
fucking sunshines. Like,
Just slide your hands out. No,
I-
I'll forget
how
it.
the interrogation starts.
So they're a little tight.
Right, we'll start talking about some shit.
Thanks for entertaining us. Just slide your
Way to
hands
go,
out.
Corporal Edwards.
Actually, if I could, I would have done that for you.
Do you know Baez's phone number off the top of your head?
No, I do not.
How can we get the cell number or his number?
I know his office number,
What is that?
407.
I've identified myself. You know why you're in custody.
Yes.
And you signed this. You want your attorney present.
Yes. Hey, it's Casey. I'm with Corporal Edwards. I know the last name, sorry. I'm at the Sheriff's Department if you'd like to come down and meet with us. Thank you. Yes. And to answer your other question, from that picture, I cut my hair. It was really short even last year. I just started growing it back out this year.
Talking about cutting her fucking hair.
Just about that.
Okay.
Hey, okay, didn't Naz don't care?
It's been a long day.
Elpis ratio?
How was my dad this
You
morning?
fell off?
In our time.
Yeah.
Honestly.
My mom
Alright, this is the
saw
lead
him in the
investigator.
meeting. Got a chance to hear him talking to my mom. I spoke to him last night and this morning for just a quick second before he left. So
Yeah, I talked to him this morning for a little bit. He was with Mark, and he was really struggling.
Nobody cares about her
He was
hair.
having a hard time. He was being called in to essentially provide testimony to indict you, or to at least, and he was really struggling with that.
yeah.
And
Exactly.
I felt bad for him, to be honest with you. I truly did.
Well, I even told him last night. I know he was subpoenaed, and under the law, he had to answer whatever questions were asked him, and I told him to do what he had to do.
Imagine you were Casey, but void of any wrongdoing whatsoever. Your daughter was kidnapped 5 weeks ago, and now a detective who thinks you're the culprit is relaying the agonizing moments of your father providing information for your arrest. No matter how stoic or self-controlled your nature, you would most likely be in tears or completely enraged at the overwhelming unjustness of the situation.
You anxious about today at all?
I have been. I mean, this is
I'm
something.
confused because they already. Is this just the interrogation after they officially charged her? Like the first time they actually got to get to talk with her about Like after they charged her, I
honestly
guess.
been preparing for from the
I was
beginning.
wondering
just
what are they
because
going
of
to talk
words
about
that
here.
were directly spoken from Yuri Melich and also from Sergeant Allen. They were saying that this is
I
what they were
mean,
planning
even
on
the
doing from
mafia fucking kills kids. They'll kidnap them as hostages and use it as a bargaining chip, but yeah, I don't think they really kill kids.
the very beginning, from that first day. So they wrote me off within the first couple hours. That was the only time they ever made any effort to try to talk to me one-on-one. And
No, it was kind of difficult.
it was kind of difficult considering.
Well, considering, obviously, in light of everything that's going on and the fact that you've been arrested for other things, makes it a little more difficult to sit down and even talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we haven't wanted to.
Yeah. But I do have counsel, and that's something that, you know, my attorney's always been a phone call away.
Has your attorney ever told you that we would like to speak to you?
And we had agreed, him and I together, that we would all sit down together, him and I, and you guys, and, you know, we entertain whatever questions you have. And
There is no possible way that a defense attorney would actually sit down and, as Casey states, entertain any question the police have for them. Yet if we weren't paying close attention, we would take her at her word due to the eloquence of her dialogue and not realize everything she's saying is complete nonsense.
I actually thought that we made it pretty clear that, you know, we wanted to talk to you. I mean,
Especially rape, no one spares you.
yeah, understandably.
You know, I thought that you were aware that if you wanted
Say
to talk
rape,
to
I know you meant rape.
that all you got to do was simply ask.
Yeah, well, I know it goes both ways on that, and I guess it would have needed to come from me. I should have been the one to, I guess, come forward with it. But, you know, we did open up that door to law enforcement.
You're right, great,
Sergeant Allen
Toots.
was making a big deal saying, well, we want to talk to her. When can we talk to her? And he's saying, well, the door's open.
I don't believe he ever told us the door was open.
What's fascinating is how instinctive and confident her assertions are. In any other circumstance, or even without the knowledge we have now, you would have no reason not to believe everything she's saying.
I've heard the words come out of his mouth, even myself, directed to other people that maybe didn't either relay the message or took it a different way. So I don't know. I think the lack of communication has put people in opposite corners when everybody has the same goal, is to find Caylee. We all still feel, I as a mom, I know in my gut, there's the feeling as a parent, you know certain things about your child, you can feel that connection. And I still have that feeling, that presence. I
He's
know that
making
she's
shit
alive.
up right now.
Whether you have a bucket load of evidence downstairs, you
He's just thinking shit on
certain
the
things about
fly.
your child, you can feel that connection.
He's talking about mom's feeling connections.
I still have that
Then
feeling,
she
that
just
presence.
paused,
I know
like
that
she's just
alive.
making shit up right now.
Whether you have
This is why you wait for your
bucket load
attorney.
of evidence downstairs that
This right here is why you wait for your
contradicts that and
attorney.
says otherwise, or all you have is speculation, or nothing at all. I mean,
We had more than speculation.
as every tip and
that's
every
something that I
lead
told
followed
Jose
up on.
directly.
Yeah.
That we have more than speculation. We have a lot, or else we wouldn't be to this point. A lot.
This was essentially a direct confrontation. The detective has just told Casey they have sufficient evidence to prove her guilt. Casey doesn't refute or even respond to the accusation. She instead falls back to her ridiculous dialogue once again, hoping the confidence in her voice will mask the absurdity of what she's actually saying.
Well, I said the same thing to them, that, you know, they said that we're at the end of a hallway, and I'm thinking we're at the end of a hallway and there's two doors. Which door are we going to go through? Or I guess this is, you know, we're at this point, and
we are at this point where
the final step is which door is walked through.
Oh, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about doors for?
I mean, those issues are gone, okay? And when we refer to we're at the end of the
Keep two
hallway,
people in the room.
you are well aware of what hallway we're talking about. Do you understand that?
Well, so there's no question, I guess. You can specify that at this point, or what your perspective is on that.
You have a second?
Absolutely.
Can we come right back?
Yeah, that's fine.
You plan on running off?
I'm not going anywhere.
So I gotta stretch out a little bit. I'm not as young as I used to be.
It's unfortunate that right when the pressure was starting to build, the second detective interrupts the exchange and they both leave the room soon after. Casey waits alone for roughly 40 minutes before her attorney shows up.
He's going to ask you a question. You don't say anything else other than the answer. Okay?
You stand up, Cav.
Casey, based on our conversation today, and I read you that form, basically just the same thing I said to Mr. Baez over the phone.
What are they doing now?
If there's been numerous requests or opportunities,
did the attorney come in?
to speak with us and come to a resolution here. And that's why we brought you here instead of the jail. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, based on your request for us to call him and bring him here, he's here. So what we're going to try to do is give you a few minutes somewhere that's not recorded. No secrets, I told you. This room's recorded. I have to be able to approach my chain and explain why.
The detective now guilefully takes Casey up on her previous offer, where she insisted they were willing to sit down with police and answer questions.
But first, I needed you to tell him, in your own words, if you will, that you'd like to take the opportunity to deal with us like you've made that request in the past. So, is that something you want to tell him?
I told him the same thing we talked about before, that we would entertain any questions that they have. We would listen and discuss it, and if we have something to respond, we'll respond.
Okay, do you want to speak to me in private?
Yes.
So we can clarify this?
Yes.
It would come as no surprise that no conference was to be had. Casey was instead taken to the county jail, where she would remain for 2.5 years awaiting trial. Once this footage was released to the public domain, the consensus was that Casey at best was a cold-hearted mother, and at worst, a hideous, despicable murderer. But what's curious is that although these opinions may be accurate, they came from a completely misguided notion, being that her behavior in the footage was entirely genuine. Casey was in all likelihood being completely fake this entire time. So you might be curious as to why a person would actually fake such a poised temperament, when it would be far more fitting to fake sadness and despair. We all have aspects to ourselves that are ungenuine to a certain degree. How we act at a business dinner won't be the way we are at home with our close friends or family. The more comfortable the setting, the more we can be ourselves. Those educated on Casey's past would assert that she was rarely sad, rarely angry, but always this bubbly and agreeable personality, even when it didn't suit the situation. She was one of those people where something just seemed off, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it. The evidence put forward suggests that Casey was fake in every single setting and with every single person, all of the time. A trait that might go unnoticed in everyday life, yet would clearly stand out when shown under the microscope of a criminal case study. Casey had become so accustomed to this fraudulent way of being that it even came as a natural behavior to her in the extraordinary setting we see here. And the assertion is that because Casey knew just how well she could fabricate his character, she thought she could use it to mask her anxiety, and thus conceal guilty behavior. Casey, in all likelihood, had little to no regard.
I've never had jury duty before, but if I did, I have a bullshit detector. I'm very intuitive about people. And as long as I have all the evidence displayed, I can come to the right conclusion and know if the person did it.
Knew just how well she could fabricate this character, she thought she could use it to mask her anxiety, and thus conceal guilty behavior. Casey, in all likelihood, had little to no regard for her daughter. That's not even an argument anymore. But her true temperament here would likely be far more apprehensive due to the concern over her own welfare. Every time the detective insinuated an accusation, Casey kept the same tone, same demeanor, and same confident, lighthearted disposition. If you took her out of this interrogative setting and placed her in the mall with her friends, it would seem completely normal. She would be faking her personality in both environments, yet we are only able to realize it in one. This type of mindset is linked to sociopathy. Whatever the situation or circumstance, they need to have an advantage over you. So how do they do this? They lie, and also calculate how they are going to feel and react to a certain situation before it occurs. The entirety of her focus was on making herself look good rather than being worried about the actual quality of her character. Casey, in a nutshell, was an inauthentic person, long before she ever gave birth to her ill-fated daughter. And her skill at deception alongside her manufactured personality is arguably...
Like, why have a fucking daughter then if...
the most terrifying part of this entire case. On December 11th, 2008, just under 5 months since she was reported missing, Caylee's skeletal remains were discovered in a swamp less than a mile away from the Anthony household. She was wrapped in a Winnie the Pooh blanket and then placed in a canvas laundry bag. Duct tape was discovered around the nose and mouth area of the skull, and her death was ruled a homicide. Prosecutors in the case then announced they would be seeking the death penalty. There were a multitude of discoveries made in the lead-up to the trial, and many believed it to be an open and shut case due to the damnatory nature of the evidence. On the last day Caylee was seen alive by anyone other than her mother, and the day many believed she was murdered, Casey Anthony made the following internet searches. At 7:54 p.m.
Wait. Y'all didn't know this information from the get-go? Y'all needed all of the interrogation, all that bullshit 5 years late. How long did they say? I only say 5 years. I think they said 5 months.
Just under 5 months since this entire case. On December 11th, 2008, just under 5 months since she was reported missing.
It took all 5 months to get that search history. If y'all had looked that up on day one, y'all would have been like, the bitch did it. He's searching up stuff.
Caylee's skeleton was discovered by her mother.
What was it? He's searching up suffocation, like... Well, I mean, I guess they would have to find the daughter to know she had tape over her mouth and nose and been like, okay, suffocation, tape over, like, yeah, that puts 2 and 2 together. But they already had 2. The other 2 should have just been Casey.
At 7:54 p.m. that same evening, Casey and her boyfriend Tony were seen in a Blockbuster video store. Caylee was nowhere in sight, and many presume she was already...
Did she say Tony?
At 7:54 p.m. that same evening, Casey and her boyfriend Tony were seen in a Blockbuster video store. Caylee was nowhere in sight, and many presume she was already dead and decomposing in Casey's trunk at this point. In the following weeks, Casey went out partying most nights. Just 3 days after her daughter's supposed abduction, she was captured in various photos participating in a hot body contest. 12 days after, she got a tattoo on her back saying Bella Vita, an Italian motto that translates beautiful life. She also made an entry in her diary around the same time which read, I completely trust my own judgment, and I knew that I made the right decision. This is the happiest that I have been in a very long time. I hope that my happiness will continue to grow. The trial commenced on May 24th, 2011. The gist
I mean, it's not like she had competition to eat her. Look at this girl. Like, what the fuck is this?
Abduction day that translates beautiful life. She also made an entry in her diary around the same time which read, I completely trust my own judgment, and I knew that I made the right decision. This is the happiest that I have been in a very long time. I hope that my happiness will continue to grow. The trial commenced on May 24th, 2011. The gist of the prosecution's argument was that Casey suffocated her daughter with duct tape and then placed her in the trunk for a few days before disposing of her body in the swamp. The motive for the murder was the primary focus during their opening statement.
This isn't just a case about Casey Marie Anthony. It's a story about Caylee Anthony as well. Caylee Anthony was born on August 9th of 2005. It was a Tuesday. And Caylee lived nearly every day of her life on a quiet residential street in Orlando called Hope Spring Drive. Casey Anthony, Caylee's mother, appeared to all outward observers to be what her parents thought she was. A loving mother working hard to provide support for her daughter. But as the evidence in this case and the investigation into the background of Casey Anthony
she is
will
talking,
show,
keep pausing to make it dramatic. Like,
that was an illusion. On Monday, June 16th, Cindy Anthony goes to work.
I guess she's trying to make sure,
sometime
like,
between
because
7
she's
and
talking in
8
front of the jury too,
in
make sure they get every
House
detail, like,
until late evening.
make sure
George
they don't miss
Anthony
shit.
specifically recalls that at 12:50 p.m. on June 16th of 2008, his daughter Casey left the residence on Hope Spring Drive with Caylee Marie Anthony. Caylee was wearing a pink shirt, jean shorts, sunglasses, and a backpack. And JoJo,
Actually, no, they should.
George Anthony,
I mean, regardless, you
kissed his
know.
granddaughter goodbye and never saw her again. In fact, no one but Casey Anthony ever saw Caylee Marie Anthony
Why are you shaking
alive
your head?
again.
Like, you can tell
The
she's
evidence in this
heated
case will
inside.
establish
She looks mad.
that there is no other reason for the placement of multiple pieces of duct tape on this child's face, mouth, and nose other than the specific intent to end that child's life. No one but Casey Anthony had access to all the pieces of evidence in this case. The duct tape, the laundry bag, the blanket, the shorts, the shirt, the car.
No, you can't leave. No, you can't go home.
No one else lied to their
Gotta sit through
friends, to
this.
their family, to investigators. No one else benefited from the death of Caylee Marie Anthony. Caylee's death allowed Casey Anthony to live the good life, at least for those 31 days.
Although there was a lack of direct physical evidence tying the defendant to her daughter's death, the evidence the state actually had still seemed overwhelming, and they understandably thought relying on the facts alone would easily secure a conviction. The defense, on the other hand, were up against it. So not only did they use charm and appeal to sway the jury's attention away from the evidence, they dropped an absolute bombshell in their opening statements to create as much doubt as humanly possible.
On behalf of the defense, I want to thank you for the sacrifice that
Yeah,
you've
let's
made
find out what bombshell
in your
y'all
jury
dropped.
service and coming here and helping us see justice. We know it's no easy task, and we intend, I'm sure both sides, on getting you home as quickly as possible once you have all of the information that you need. Everyone wants to know what happened. How in the world can a mother wait 30 days before ever reporting her child missing? It's insane. It's bizarre. Something's just not right about that. Well, the answer is actually relatively simple. She never was missing.
He did it.
Caylee Anthony
Oh.
died on June 16, 2008, when she drowned in her family's swimming pool. Well, the reason we're all here is because not of the commonality of this tragedy, but of the uniqueness of the family that it happened to. You will hear about the family swimming pool. Anthony died on June 16, 2008, when she drowned in her family's swimming pool. Well, the reason we're all here is because not of the commonality of this tragedy, but of the uniqueness of the family that it happened to. You will hear.
Does he know that Caylee was found with tape on her nose and mouth? You're saying she drowned in the family swimming pool? Even if you're trying to build a case for her defense, that doesn't even logically make sense.
About
They know she was
ugly
suffocated
things,
and drowned.
secret things, things that people don't speak about, things that Casey never spoke about. On June 16, 2008, after
Because
Caylee
of
died,
facial expressions.
Casey did what she's been doing all her life, or for most of it, hiding her pain, going into that dark corner and pretending that she does not live
Amen.
in the situation that she's living in.
After
This
this, I'm
family
going straight to bed.
must keep its secrets quiet.
I'm
And it
gonna
all
try to stop
began
pausing.
when Casey was 8 years old and her father came into her room and began to touch her inappropriately. This child, who at 8 years old, learned to lie immediately. She could be 13 years old, have her father's penis in her mouth, and then go to school and play with the other kids as if nothing ever happened. That will help you understand why no one knew that her child was dead.
The trial would go on to last 6 weeks, with the prosecution exposing the truly dark and deceptive nature of Casey's character. While the state
What
relied
the
on fact,
fuck?
the defense clung on to theory and proposed every conspiracy under the sun in the hope they would create enough skepticism and confusion. One of the more noted details of the trial was the courtroom presence of Jose Baez. He had an exceptional ability of narrative control and storytelling, and his capacity to create a connection with the jury seemed far more adequate than that of the state. This was
That was way
recognized
left
and
field.
mentioned multiple times in the media, yet the overwhelming majority of those following the case were almost certain that it wouldn't be enough to save the defendant. Closing arguments were put forward on Sunday, the 3rd of July.
When you have a child, that child becomes your life. This case is about the clash between that responsibility and the expectations that go with it and the life
He's on
that
easy
Casey
tea
Anthony
timing.
wanted to have. Casey meets Tony. Tony has this life. He's free. He's a club promoter. He's out there at night with the loud music and dancing, and it's a great free life. So she has a choice.
This guy isn't talking about shit
a
right
life
now.
tethered to a child,
What are you talking about?
or a life free to be 22. And as hard as it is for anyone to imagine, she had to choose between two sacrificing
Oh,
two
he's
things.
saying basically she chose the party life instead
The
of
first
her child.
was her dreams and the life she wanted. And the second was her child.
Why are you taking forever to get there?
And we submit to you the evidence in this case shows that the choice she made was her child.
Here we are.
I mean, party?
At the end of our journey. And
Oh,
I
sacrifice.
have to
child.
tell you that I probably think you have more questions than you have answers. And if you recall at opening statements, the final thing that I told you, at the end of the day, when everything is said and done, the one question will never be answered. The key question
Kev, you know she's free, right?
will
You know
never
she's
be
free
answered.
right now.
It can never be proven.
I think
And
so.
that is
I
how
heard she was
Caylee
writing a
died. I'm gonna
biography
start
or
with my
something, a
biggest
story about Caylee.
I'm going to tell you right up front what
Am I
I
tripping?
fear.
I'm gonna
may
look it up
happen in
after.
this
I'll
case.
do a quick search.
And I want to talk to you about it and explain why.
I'll
I
see if
feel
they
that
said she's.
this case deals
they
with
gave
so
her
much
life.
emotion. I know that there were times where every single person in here felt something deep down inside. Your rules of deliberation, what the law is that this case must not be decided for or against anyone because you feel sorry for anyone or are angry at anyone.
You'll notice that Mr. Baez locks the jury's focus on this while subtly concealing this. He presents the argument that the prosecution has purposely got the jury emotionally invested in the case in the hope it would push them towards a guilty verdict. Yet in this exact same statement, he himself is getting them emotionally invested for the exact opposite reason. While refuting the prosecution's supposed attempt to entice anger, he subtly attempts to evoke empathy. Say what you want about this attorney and the ethics of his conduct, but what you are about to witness is expertly done, and what many believe to be what saved Casey Anthony's life.
And that's because, obviously,
Candy
we
Anthony's
want
life,
you to
yeah,
base your verdict
she's free, right?
on the evidence, not on emotion. And it's my biggest fear because it's such a difficult thing for you to push aside. Caylee Anthony was a beautiful, sweet, innocent child who died far too soon. There's no doubt about it, and that is not disputed by anyone. But to parade her up here, to invoke your emotion, would be improper. It's improper under the law, and it's improper as to the rules of your deliberation. He went on for a great length of time talking about this beautiful child, not on his evidence, not on the evidence that was presented before you. It was to set up the emotion for what was to come. And that is exactly how
And
this
the
case
baby
was
killer.
presented. They didn't come right
Maybe
out the
he's just
gate
getting his
and
paycheck.
show you the evidence. They gave you 2 weeks of testimony that was completely irrelevant and served only one purpose. And that was to paint Casey Anthony as a slut, as a party girl, as a girl who lies, and has absolutely nothing to do with how Caylee died. And this prosecution was geared in such a manner that it was
He on the
deliberate,
prosecution's
it
ass
was
right now.
methodical, it was thorough,
Dude sitting
and it
back
was
mad.
detailed.
They all
Mr.
cross on
Baez
mad,
then
like,
focuses on the fact that the state has the burden of proof, and thereafter continues to intertwine the two essential features of his argument, empathy and doubt.
Don't speculate. Don't guess. It has to be proven to you beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. If you don't know what happened, it wasn't proven.
he did the job. He's
We
a
don't
W
want you
lawyer.
to tell us what you think happened. We want you to tell us what was proven happened. And that's the difference here. Because you know what? We can go on and speculate all day long as to the different theories that were posed before you, as to the different possibilities. But the truth of the matter is it must be what was proven. There are no mysteries to solve here. There should be no mystery before you right now. If you have questions, then it was not proven. And that's as simple as it goes. Now, back to what I was saying with their initial setup.
Now you're starting to
The
ramble
way the
on.
case was presented, the first couple of weeks. You see, the strategy behind that is if you hate her, if you think she's a lying, no good slut, then you'll start to look at this evidence in a different light. You'll
But how
start
much
to,
would you do
"Oh,
it
wait a
for,
minute.
Cav?
Maybe I'm seeing something that's not there. And start
I mean, if
to
it was a
actually
rapist, I'm not
discriminate
defending
against her,
him.
rather than give her
I'm gonna say
the
tell the
standing
person I'm
that
gonna
is
defend
afforded
him.
to each and
And
every
I'm gonna be like,
citizen in our country.
yo, she
And
did
that
it.
is
She
that the
told me.
state, that the government come in here and prove their case beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. But you can get away with that if we can get a jury to hate her. But you're here to fulfill an oath. You've labored tremendously over this journey.
Not in the last
And
2
we're
minutes.
going to ask you to render a verdict of not guilty on these charges because
he
they
can do whatever he
simply
want.
were not proven. And they're simply not true.
For the 9th Judicial Circuit in and for Orange County, Florida.
Oh, verdict.
State of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony. As to case number 2008 CF 15606-0. As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict.
Transformers Dark Side of the Moon blasts off with 116.4 The fact that that's just under this headline is insane.
As to count 3, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day
He
of
got
July,
off.
2011, signed foreperson. And juror number 12, were these your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Well, counsel
1 mil for
and
sure.
the defendant approach the podium.
Well, I hope that this is a lesson to those of you who have indulged in media assassination for
He's
3
free.
years, bias and prejudice, and incompetent talking heads saying what would be and how
But
would
she
be.
didn't do it. I mean,
I'm
who
disgusted
did?
by some of the lawyers that have done this, and I can tell you that my colleagues from coast to coast and border to border have condemned this whole process of lawyers getting on television and talking about cases that they don't know a damn thing about and don't have the experience to back up their words or the law to do it. Now you've learned a lesson. And we appreciate the jury. Those of you that have been objective and professional, we like it. Others, we're going to be talking to again. Thank you very much.
Casey did not murder Caylee. It's that simple. And today,
I wouldn't even go out there and say that after I won. I just be like, you know what? I did my job, y'all. I'm out.
has not dishonored her memory
I don't need any more attention.
by a false conviction.
He better paid him a bag. 'Cause I know after she got off, she was like, this nigga really did that shit? Yeah. She's writing a detailed, definitive account of her life and the tragedy of losing Caylee and everything that followed. What the fuck? Get shit off my screen. Imagine you go out to a bar and you see Casey there and you're like, ain't you that girl that killed your daughter but you got let free? He wants some more kids. Fuck no. Fuck no. I don't know what the hell I was doing. Oh my god. Damn. The daughter's name is Caylee. Yeah, and they put her business on like that. She lives in South Florida. What they let the private detective's name out? Wait, with private detective who worked at the lead detective on the case? Known for his work on the O.J. Simpson case. She lives with. Hey, I appreciate that, Ja. What? She lives with one of the private investigators or private detectives who's the lead investigator on her case and who helped with the O.J. Simpson case? I mean, I would keep a low profile too. Of course. The news would not know shit about me. Oh my god. Hey. Cops every day. Cops lie people every day. Whatever. Whatever. It's funny that what it say, she's with the person who also worked on the O.J. Simpson case. O.J. did it. She did it. Like that. Oh my god. She living her good life. You know, she won. Let her be, I guess. But George Zimmerman, I don't care that he won. Don't let him be. Somebody should have killed that man after he did that shit. That was some bullshit. But he can slide for now. Alright, that's gonna tie up this reaction. It's probably get uploaded to YouTube in a couple days. But y'all on YouTube, definitely move over to my Twitch. Link is gonna be in the description. Appreciate everybody, and I'm about to get up out of here. Good night.